The Mighty Council. In the center of the galaxy, there was a place of great power. This place was called the Council Station. It floated in space like a giant metal city. Lights of 1,000 colors shined from its surface. Ships came and went every day, bringing news from across the stars. Inside the station, in the largest hall ever built, sat the Galactic Council. The council was old, very old. They had existed for more than 5,000 years. In that time, they had seen empires rise and fall. They had watched young races learn to travel between stars. They had survived wars, plagues, and disasters that would have destroyed lesser civilizations. And through it all, the council remained strong, powerful, unbreakable. 12 races sat on the council. Each one represented a great civilization. Each one controlled hundreds of worlds. Together, they ruled half the known galaxy. There was the Kralliks, tall beings with purple skin and 4 eyes. They were masters of war and strategy. Their fleets were the strongest in space. There was the Vaurians, covered in silver armor that never came off. They were the Council's military commanders. No one could defeat them in battle. There was the Mindari, creatures that looked like floating brains surrounded by tentacles. They were the smartest beings in the galaxy. Their technology was beyond understanding. There were 9 other races, each powerful in their own way. Together, they made decisions that affected trillions of lives. The Council controlled everything important in their part of the galaxy. They decided who could trade and who could not. They made laws that everyone had to follow. They kept peace between different races. They punished those who broke their rules. Young races who wanted to survive had to join the council. There was no other choice. Join and obey, or stay alone and weak. Every young race eventually understood this simple truth. And at the head of this mighty council sat High Chancellor Vex. Vex was a Kralliks, like his father before him and his father's father. The Vex family had led the council for 300 years. It was a position of great honor and even greater power. Chancellor Vex sat on a floating throne that shined with golden light. His purple skin was marked with symbols of rank and achievement. His 4 eyes could see everything in the great hall. His voice, when he spoke, made the whole room listen. Vex believed the council was perfect. How could it not be? For 5,000 years, it had brought order to chaos. It had stopped wars before they started. It had lifted young races from darkness into civilization. The council's way was the right way, the only way. Every day, representatives from hundreds of worlds came to the council hall. They brought gifts. They asked for permission to do things. They thanked the council for its wisdom and guidance. Young races especially were grateful. When they first reached the stars, they were confused and scared. The galaxy was big and dangerous. Pirates hunted weak ships. Diseases spread between worlds. Wars broke out over resources and territory. But the council protected them. The council taught them. The council showed them how to survive. Of course, there was a price. Young races had to give up some freedoms. They had to follow council laws, even if they did not fully understand them. They had to pay taxes to support the council's fleets and stations. They had to accept council advisors who would guide their governments. But this was a small price for safety and civilization. Every young race understood this. Eventually, the council had never failed. Not once in 5,000 years. They had faced rebellions before. Small groups who thought they knew better than the council. But these rebellions always ended the same way. The rebels realized their mistake. They came back, apologizing and begging for forgiveness. And the council always forgave them, because the council was wise and merciful. This long history of success made the council proud, very proud. They walked with confidence. They spoke with authority. They never doubted their decisions. Chancellor Vex was the proudest of all. He looked at the galaxy and saw the council's greatness everywhere. Order instead of chaos, peace instead of war, progress instead of stagnation. "We are the builders of civilization," he often said. "Without us, the galaxy would fall into darkness." The other council members agreed. How could they not? The evidence was clear. The council worked. The council succeeded. The council was eternal. Nothing could touch them. Nothing could shake their power. Nothing could prove them wrong. They had ruled for 5,000 years. They would rule for 5,000 more. This was what the council believed. This was their truth. But pride is a dangerous thing. It makes the powerful blind. It makes the wise foolish. It turns strength into weakness. The council did not know it yet, but their greatest test was coming. A test that would not involve war or rebellion or violence. A test that would come from a young race doing something the council never expected. Walking away. On a cold morning in the council station, a small ship arrived. It was not beautiful like council ships. It was not large or impressive. It was just a simple transport vessel, gray and plain. But the name written on its side made some council members curious. Earth Diplomatic Mission. Humans. The council had been watching them for 20 years now. They were a young race, barely 200 years in space. They had 30 small colonies spread across a few star systems. Their technology was basic. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were weak. In council terms, humans were nothing special. Just another young race learning to crawl among the stars. But they had requested a formal meeting with the council, and the council, in its generosity, had agreed. Ambassador James Carter stepped off the human ship. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been a soldier once, then a diplomat. He had spent his whole life trying to keep peace between different human nations. Now he had a bigger job: keep peace between humans and aliens. Behind him walked 6 other humans, scientists, translators, military advisors. They all wore simple black uniforms with Earth's symbol on the shoulder. A blue planet with white clouds. Guards led them through the massive corridors of the council station. The humans looked around with wide eyes. The station was huge. The technology was far beyond anything Earth had. Alien species walked past them, some curious, some not even noticing. Finally, they reached the Great Hall. Ambassador James stopped at the entrance. The hall was enormous. It stretched up so high that the ceiling disappeared in darkness. 12 floating thrones arranged in a circle, each one holding a council member. And in the center throne sat High Chancellor Vex. "Welcome, humans," Vex's voice boomed through the hall. He spoke in perfect English. The council had studied human languages years ago. "Come forward. Do not be afraid." James walked to the center of the hall. His team followed. They stood under the floating thrones, looking up at the council members. It felt like standing before gods. Ambassador James Carter of Earth, Vex said, "You requested this meeting. The council has agreed to hear you. Speak." James cleared his throat. "Thank you, Chancellor. Humanity is grateful for this opportunity. We have come to discuss our future relationship with the Galactic Council." "Ah, yes," Vex nodded. "Your future. We have been discussing this as well. The Council has decided to offer humanity a great honor." "An honor?" James asked. "Yes," Vex smiled. But it was not a warm smile. "We invite you to join the Council's protection, to become part of our great civilization." A holographic document appeared in the air. It was long, very long, pages and pages of text in small letters. "This is the Treaty of Membership," Vex explained. "It outlines the terms of humanity's integration into Council society." James began reading. The more he read, the tighter his jaw became. The treaty demanded many things from humanity. First, Earth and all human colonies must accept Council governors. These governors would have final authority over all major decisions. Second, Humans must reduce their military by 60%. The Council would protect them, so they did not need large armies. Third, all human space travel must be approved by Council authorities. Humans could not explore new systems without permission. Fourth, humans must pay yearly taxes equal to 30% of their total economic output. This money would support the Council's operations. Fifth, all human scientific research must be shared with the Council. No secrets allowed. Sixth, humans must adopt Council laws and abandon any conflicting human laws. The list went on and on. Each point took something away from humanity: independence, freedom, self-determination. James looked up from the holographic document. Chancellor, these terms are very strict. Vex laughed. Not a kind laugh. A laugh that said he expected this reaction. Strict? No, Ambassador. These terms are standard. Every young race accepts them. It is for your own good. A Vorian Council member spoke up. Her voice was sharp. You humans are like children playing with fire. You do not understand the dangers of the galaxy. We do this to protect you from yourselves. But we would lose our independence, James said carefully. Independence. Vex repeated the word like it was funny. What good is independence when you are dead? Young races who try to remain independent usually do not survive. Pirates attack them. Plagues destroy them. Wars consume them. They disappear, and no one remembers their names. The Mindari Council members' tentacles waved slowly. Be grateful, human. The Council does not offer this to every species. Some are not worth our time, but we see potential in you. Small potential, but potential nonetheless. Another Council member added, you should feel honored that we even notice you. There are hundreds of young races in the galaxy. Most will never get this chance. James stood very still. His face showed no emotion, but inside, anger was building. The Council was not offering partnership. They were offering slavery with better words. You are lucky, Vex said, leaning forward on his throne. 5,000 years of Council wisdom will guide you. You will not make the mistakes other young races made. You will not waste time on foolish experiments. You will follow the path we show you, the correct path. The other Council members nodded in agreement. They had given this speech before to other young races, and those races had always accepted, because they had no choice. Take your time to consider, Vex said generously. You have 1 week to give your answer. But know this, Ambassador Carter. There is only one smart answer. Accept our offer. Join our civilization, or stay alone in the dark, cold galaxy and face whatever comes. James looked at each Council member. He saw their pride, their certainty, their complete belief that humans would bend their heads and accept. We will consider your offer carefully, Chancellor, James said quietly. Good, Vex smiled. I look forward to welcoming humanity into the Council family. You will see. Everything we do for your benefit. We know what is best. The meeting ended. The humans were escorted out of the Great Hall. As they walked back to their ship, none of them spoke, but they all thought the same thing. The Council did not want partners, they wanted servants. And humanity had never been good at serving anyone. 1 week passed. The human diplomatic team stayed on the Council station during this time. They were given comfortable rooms. They were fed well. They were treated like honored guests. But everyone knew the truth. They were being watched, studied. The Council wanted to see how humans would react to their generous offer. Council members were confident. They had seen this pattern many times before. Young races always followed the same steps. First, shock at the treaty terms. Second, quiet discussions among themselves. Third, desperate attempts to negotiate better terms. Fourth, final acceptance when they realized they had no choice. Humans would be no different. They were too weak to refuse. On the 7th day, Ambassador James Carter requested another meeting with the full council. His message was short: "We have made our decision." High Chancellor Vex smiled when he heard this. "Excellent. Prepare the signing ceremony. Make it grand. The humans should feel proud of this moment." The great hall was prepared. Banners were hung. Ceremonial guards stood at attention. Everything was ready to welcome humanity into the council's civilization. The 12 council members took their places on their floating thrones. They wore their finest robes and armor. This was an important day. Another young race would join the fold. The massive doors opened. Ambassador James walked in. His team followed behind him. They all wore the same simple black uniforms. No fancy clothes, no special decorations. James walked to the center of the hall. He stood in the exact same spot where he had stood 1 week ago. Vex looked down at him with satisfaction. "Ambassador Carter, welcome back. Have you brought your answer?" "Yes, Chancellor," James said. His voice was calm, quiet, almost peaceful. "Wonderful." Vex gestured to an empty podium that had been set up. "The signing station is ready. Once you place your signature on the treaty, we will begin the integration process. Your people will thank you for making the wise choice." James did not move toward the podium. Instead, he looked up at Vex. Then he looked at each council member, one by one. His eyes moved slowly from throne to throne. He said nothing. He just looked. The council members began to feel uncomfortable. Why was he staring? Why was he not moving? "Ambassador," Vex said, "is something wrong?" James took a slow breath. When he spoke, his words were clear and simple. "We cannot accept your treaty." Silence filled the hall. Complete silence. Even the usual hum of the station's systems seemed to disappear. Vex blinked his 4 eyes. "What did you say?" "We cannot accept your treaty," James repeated. Same calm voice. Same quiet tone. "I see," Vex said slowly. "You want to negotiate. You want better terms. Very well. We can discuss minor adjustments." "No," James interrupted gently. "There is nothing to negotiate. We cannot accept any version of this treaty." The Vorian Council member leaned forward. "You refuse. Do you understand what you are saying?" James did not answer. He simply looked at her. His face showed no anger, no fear, no emotion at all. "This is foolish." The Mindari member's tentacles waved rapidly. "You need the council. Without us, you will not survive. We are offering you a future." Still, James said nothing. Vex's voice grew louder. "Ambassador Carter, think carefully. If you refuse this treaty, humanity will stand alone. No allies, no protection, no guidance. The galaxy is dangerous. Young races who stand alone usually do not last long." James remained silent. "We are trying to help you," another council member shouted. "Why can you not see that?" The human ambassador stood perfectly still. His face was like stone, calm, unchanging, final. Vex realized something then. James was not going to argue. He was not going to explain. He was not going to beg for different terms. He had made his decision, and nothing would change it. "Very well," Vex said coldly. "If you refuse our generosity, then leave. Go back to your small corner of space. When trouble comes, do not expect the council to help you." James nodded once, a small, simple nod. Then he did something that shocked every council member. He turned around. He did not say goodbye. He did not make threats. He did not give warnings. He did not explain humanity's position or make a speech about freedom. He just turned his back on the most powerful beings in the galaxy, and he started walking toward the door. His team followed him without a word. 6 humans walking in perfect silence. Their boots made small clicking sounds on the crystal floor. That was the only sound in the entire enormous hall. The council members stared in disbelief. This had never happened before. Young races always argued, always begged, always tried to negotiate. They never just left. Wait, the Vorian commander called out. You cannot just walk away. But James did not stop, did not turn around, did not acknowledge the words. The massive doors opened automatically as he approached. Bright light from the corridor flooded into the hall. James walked through the doors. His team followed. The doors began to close behind them. Vex watched them go, his 4 eyes wide with confusion. Did they actually leave? Without a word, the Mindari member whispered. They said almost nothing. No anger, another member added. No threats. They just walked away, the Vorian commander said slowly. The doors closed completely. The humans were gone. For a long moment, the council sat in stunned silence. Then Vex began to laugh. It was a forced laugh, an uncertain laugh. They will be back, he said, trying to sound confident. In a few months, when they face real problems, they will come crawling back. They always do. The other council members nodded slowly, but none of them looked certain anymore. Deep down, something felt wrong. Humans had not acted like other young races. They had not begged. They had not argued. They had simply walked away without a word. And somehow, that silence was more frightening than any threat could have been. 3 days after the humans left, High Chancellor Vex sent a message to Earth. It was a simple message, polite but firm. The Council is willing to reconsider some minor terms of the treaty. Please respond at your earliest convenience. He expected an answer within hours. Maybe the humans had just needed time to think. Maybe they had wanted to show some independence before accepting. This was normal behavior for young races. But no answer came. 1 week passed. Vex sent another message. This one was less polite. The Council's patience is not unlimited. Respond immediately or face consequences. Still nothing. Earth remained silent. 2 weeks. A third message. This is your final warning. Accept our protection or the Council will consider humanity hostile. Silence. The other Council members began to worry. This had never happened before. Young races always responded. Even if they refused, they sent angry messages explaining why. They argued. They negotiated. They talked. But humans? Nothing. Complete silence, as if the Council did not exist at all. Perhaps their communication systems are broken, suggested one Council member. No, the Mindari member said. His tentacles checked the data screens. Human transmissions are working perfectly. They are talking to their colonies. They are sending messages to independent traders. They are just not talking to us. Vex refused to show concern. They are playing games, trying to look strong. It does not matter. They will realize their mistakes soon enough. What if they do not? The Vorian commander asked. They will, Vex said firmly. Humans need us more than we need them. They will come back. We just need to wait. So the Council waited. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And slowly, small problems began to appear. The first problem came from a Council colony called Verdun Prime. It was a mining world, producing rare metals used in ship construction. The colony's governor sent a concerned message. Our human trade partners have not delivered this month's food shipments. Our storage is running low. When will the shipments resume? Vex was surprised. Human shipments? Why does Verdun Prime depend on human food? Because human agricultural methods are very efficient, the governor explained. Their food is cheap and high quality. We have been buying from them for 5 years. Find another supplier, Vex ordered. But that was easier said than done. Other suppliers charged more money. Their food was not as good. And most importantly, they could not deliver as quickly as humans had. Within a week, 3 more colonies reported the same problem. Human trade had stopped, and they were struggling to replace it. Then came problems with manufacturing. A council factory world reported that their production had slowed by 20%. Why? Vex demanded. Human tools, Chancellor, the factory manager explained. We have been using human-made precision tools for years. They are better than what we make ourselves. Cheaper too. Now we cannot get them, and our own tools are not good enough. Vex felt a small twist of worry in his chest. How much did the council actually depend on human trade? The Mindari member ran a full analysis. The results shocked everyone. Human trade with council space was worth billions of credits every year. Humans sold food, tools, medical supplies, and rare materials. They bought technology and luxury goods in return. But the important part was this: several council colonies had become dependent on human goods. Not because they had to, but because human products were simply better and cheaper. This is a temporary problem, Vex insisted. We will adjust. We do not need humans. But the problems kept growing. Young races under council protection began asking questions. They had heard about the humans who refused the council's treaty, who walked away without saying a word. Why did the humans leave? A young race called the Palaxians asked. Because they are foolish, Vex replied. But they seem to be doing fine on their own, the Palaxian representative noted. We have heard they are expanding their colonies, building new ships, trading with independent worlds. They do not look like they are struggling. Lies and rumors, Vex said. Humans will fail without the council. Give them time. But more young races kept asking. The questions made Vex uncomfortable. Why were young races so interested in humanity? Could they not see that the council knew best? A month later, something worse happened. A young race called the Torvans requested a meeting with the council. They had been council members for 30 years. They paid their taxes. They followed the rules. They were model members. But at the meeting, their representative spoke words that made the council freeze. We wish to renegotiate our treaty terms. Renegotiate? Vex repeated slowly. Yes, Chancellor. We want more independence, like the humans have. We want to control our own military, make our own trade agreements, keep more of our economic output. Vex felt anger rising. The humans are alone and struggling. Why would you want to be like them? But are they struggling? The Torvan representative asked. All reports say they are thriving. They trade freely. They expand without asking permission. They seem happy. Enough! Vex shouted. The Torvans will honor their treaty. There will be no renegotiation. The Torvan representative left quietly. But the damage was done. The question had been asked. The seed had been planted. Other young races heard about the Torvan request. They began asking the same questions, wanting the same things. The council blamed humanity for everything. Humans are corrupting the young races with foolish ideas of independence, Vex declared. But deep down, some council members were starting to understand the truth. Humanity had not begged, had not argued, had not threatened. They had simply walked away and shown everyone else that it was possible to say no to the council. And that quiet example was more powerful than any weapon. 6 months after humanity walked away, the first young race officially left the council. It was the Torvans, the same race that had asked to renegotiate their treaty. When the council refused to discuss new terms, they made a decision. We are leaving, the Torvan representative announced. We choose independence. Vex could not believe his ears. You cannot leave. You signed a treaty. You are bound by law. Laws can be changed, the Torvan replied. And we choose to change ours. Goodbye, Chancellor. The Torvans pulled their representatives from the council station. They stopped paying taxes. They closed their space to council ships. Vex wanted to send military forces to bring them back, but the Vorian commander had bad news. Chancellor, If we use force against the Torvans, other young races might see us as bullies. It could make things worse. Worse? How could it be worse? Vex demanded. He found out 2 weeks later. 2 more young races left the council, the Zelkari and the Fenri. Both announced their independence on the same day. "We have watched the humans," the Zelkari representative said. "They left the council 6 months ago. They are not dead. They are not destroyed. They are doing well. This proves the council is not necessary for survival." The council chamber erupted in angry shouts. Council members argued with each other. Some wanted to use military force. Others wanted to negotiate. Nobody could agree on what to do. For the first time in 5,000 years, the council looked weak, confused, divided. More problems came quickly after that. Trade routes that had worked for centuries began breaking down. This happened because many trading ships were operated by young races who were now leaving. Without these ships, goods could not move efficiently across council space. Colonies that depended on regular supply deliveries started running out of essential items. Food shortages appeared on 3 worlds. Medical supplies ran low on 5 more. Construction materials became scarce on a dozen planets. How did this happen? Vex asked the Mindari member. "We have been doing this for thousands of years. We have been depending on young races more than we realized," the Mindari member admitted. "They do the basic work. Transport, supply, manufacturing. We focused on leadership and control, but now they are leaving and our system is falling apart." Then pirates became a serious problem. For years, council military ships had protected the trade routes. But now, with several young races in rebellion, the Vorian commander had to send ships to watch those areas. This left fewer ships to fight pirates. Pirates noticed this weakness immediately. They attacked merchant vessels. They raided small colonies. They grew bold and dangerous. Council colonies called for help, but help came slowly or not at all. The military was stretched too thin. "Send more ships," colony governors demanded. "We do not have more ships," the Vorian commander shouted back. Meanwhile, messages arrived from council intelligence agents. These messages all said the same disturbing thing. Humanity was growing fast. Human colonies were expanding. New worlds were being settled. Human trading ships traveled to independent systems, making deals and building relationships. Human technology was improving rapidly. And most disturbing of all, the young races who left the council were talking to humanity. Some were even joining human trade networks. "They are building an alliance against us," one council member said fearfully. "No," the Mindari member corrected. "They are just choosing a different path. Humans are not forcing anyone to join them. They are simply there, an alternative to the council." This made Vex angrier than any threat could have. Humans were not fighting the council. They were just ignoring it. And by ignoring it, they were proving the council was not necessary. 8 months after humanity left, the council faced its biggest crisis. 5 more young races announced they were leaving. All at once. Coordinated. "This is the humans' doing," Vex accused. But intelligence reports showed something different. Humans had not convinced these races to leave. The races had decided on their own. They had watched other young races thrive without the council. They wanted that freedom too. The council tried to stop them. They sent warnings. They threatened economic sanctions. They even moved military ships near rebel systems. Nothing worked. The young races were not afraid anymore. Arguments broke out among the council members themselves. The 12 ancient races that had ruled together for so long began blaming each other. "This is Vex's fault," one member said openly. "He was too harsh with the humans, too proud." "No," another member defended. "The problem is we were too soft. We should have forced humanity to accept the treaty." "Force them? With what?" the Vorian commander snapped. "Every time we move ships to deal with one problem, 3 more problems appear somewhere else. Our military is not designed to handle this many rebellions at once. The Mindari member spoke quietly. Perhaps we should consider talking to the humans. Never. Vex roared. The council does not beg. I did not say beg, the Mindari replied. I said talk. Negotiate. Find a compromise. There is no compromise, Vex insisted. Either they follow our rules, or they are enemies. But the problem was, humans were not acting like enemies. They were not attacking council space. They were not spreading propaganda. They were not trying to destroy the council. They were just living their own lives, building their own civilization, ignoring the council completely. And somehow, that silence was destroying the council more effectively than any war could have. 10 months after humanity walked away, the council controlled less than half of what it used to. Young races were leaving every week. Trade had collapsed. Military protection was failing. Member races were fighting among themselves. The mighty Galactic Council was falling apart. And far away, in their corner of space, humans continued building their future in peaceful silence. 2 years after humanity walked away, High Chancellor Vex sat alone in the Great Council Hall. The hall that once held 12 powerful beings now held only 4. 8 council races had withdrawn from active participation. They did not officially leave, but they stopped attending meetings. They stopped following council decisions. They were gone in everything but name. The floating thrones that once shined with light were now dark and empty. The hall felt cold, dead, like a tomb for a dying empire. Vex looked older now. His purple skin had lost its shine. His 4 eyes were tired and sad. He sat on his golden throne, but it felt heavy instead of glorious. A messenger approached nervously. Chancellor, another report from the colonies. Tell me, Vex said quietly. He already knew it would be bad news. It was always bad news now. 17 more colonies have declared independence. They are asking young races for protection instead of us. The Torvans have agreed to help them. Vex closed his eyes. The Torvans, the first race to leave. They were now protecting others, doing the council's old job, and doing it better. What about our military? Vex asked. The Vorian commander reports that we can barely protect our core worlds now. Pirates control most of the outer territories. We do not have enough ships. And trade. Almost completely collapsed, Chancellor. Most merchant ships now operate in human trade networks or independent systems. They avoid council space. They say it is too dangerous and too restricted. Vex opened his eyes. What about the humans? The messenger hesitated. Chancellor, perhaps you should not. Tell me, Vex demanded, his voice cracking. The messenger took a deep breath. Human territory has expanded by 300%. They now control 60 systems. Their population has doubled. 23 former council races have joined human trade partnerships. Reports say humans treat them as equals, not servants. Each word was like a knife in Vex's heart. They are building a new council, the messenger continued quietly. But it is different from ours. Members keep their independence. They help each other by choice, not by force. They call it the Free Alliance. Vex laughed bitterly. Free Alliance. How noble. How perfect. Chancellor, there is more. Ambassador James Carter has sent a message. He is willing to meet with you. To talk. For a long moment, Vex said nothing. Then he spoke, his voice barely a whisper. Send him my response. Tell him I will meet him. Friends, if you are enjoying this story, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And do not forget to subscribe if you love HFY stories like this one. We post new stories every week. What do you think? Was the council wrong from the beginning? Or did they just make one big mistake with humanity? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love reading what you think. And if you want more stories about humans surprising the galaxy, check out the playlist in the description. Now, let us see what happens when Vex finally meets the humans again. 3 days later, Ambassador James Carter arrived at the Council station. But he was not alone. Behind him walked representatives from 20 different races. Young races, old races, former council members, independent civilizations, they all stood together. Vex looked at them from his throne. So many different beings, united without force, united by choice. Ambassador Carter, Vex said. His voice was no longer loud and commanding. It was just, tired. You came. You called, James replied simply. We believe in talking, even with those who once refused to talk with us. Vex looked down at the human. 2 years ago, this same man had stood in this same spot. Vex had looked down at him with pride and certainty. Now, Vex felt only shame. I owe you an apology, Vex said slowly. The words were hard to speak. I was wrong about humanity. Wrong about many things. James did not gloat, did not smile with satisfaction. He just listened. We thought we knew best, Vex continued. 5,000 years of success made us blind. We believed control was the same as leadership. We believed obedience was the same as respect. We believed fear was the same as loyalty. The other council members who remained sat silently, listening to their leader's confession. But you showed us the truth, Vex said. You did not fight us. You did not argue with us. You just walked away. And in that simple act, you destroyed everything we built. No, James said firmly. You destroyed it yourselves. We just showed others there was another choice. Vex nodded slowly. What do you want from us now? Revenge? To see us beg? James shook his head. We want nothing from you, Chancellor. We never did. We only wanted to be left alone to build our own future. And you have built well, Vex admitted. Your free alliance grows every day. Young races trust you. Even some of our oldest members are considering joining you. They are welcome, James said, but only if they come as equals. We do not rule anyone. We cooperate. We help each other. We respect each other's choices. Vex stood up from his throne. For the first time in years, he stepped down from it. He walked to the floor level, standing face to face with James. Teach me, Vex said quietly. Teach us. How do you lead without controlling? How do you help without dominating? James was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke words that would change the galaxy. You start by listening more than speaking. You start by serving instead of ruling. You start by understanding that real strength comes from lifting others up, not pushing them down. He paused. And most importantly, you start by admitting when you are wrong. Vex felt tears forming in his eyes. In 5,000 years, the Council had never admitted being wrong. Their pride had not allowed it. But pride had destroyed them. The old Council is dead, Vex said. We know this. We cannot go back to what we were. Perhaps we can build something new, something better, if you will help us. James looked at the representatives behind him. They nodded. We will help, James said. Not because you deserve it, but because that is what good neighbors do. They help each other grow. The great hall stood silent, but it was a different silence than before. Not the silence of pride and power, the silence of humility and hope. The old empire had fallen, but from its ashes, something new could grow, something based on respect instead of fear, partnership instead of control, freedom instead of chains. High Chancellor Vex learned the hardest lesson of his life that day. Pride comes before the fall, but humility can come after, and with humility comes the chance to rebuild, to do better, to be better. The humans had walked away without a word 2 years ago. They had let their actions speak instead of their mouths, and the galaxy had listened.